the 18th of June, 1900, Volume 3. All of creation points out the love of God. The wounded body of Jesus points out the love of neighbour. As he continued not to come, I tried to apply myself to considering the mystery of the scourging. While I was doing this, I just barely saw Jesus, all wounded and dripping blood, who told me, "My daughter, the heavens, along with all creation, point out the love of God. My wounded body points out the love of neighbour, so much so that with my humanity, united to my divinity, from two natures I formed one, and I rendered them inseparable, because I not only satisfied divine justice, but I operated the salvation of men. And so that everyone assumed this obligation of loving God and one's neighbour, I not only made them one, but I reached the point of making of it a divine precept. So my wounds and my blood are many tongues that teach everyone the way to love one another, and the obligation that all have to care for the salvation of others." Afterwards, assuming a more afflicted appearance, he added, "What a ruthless tyrant love is for me, as I not only employed the course of my mortal life in continuous sacrifices to the point of dying, bled dry on a cross, but I left myself as a perennial victim in the sacrament of the Eucharist. And not only this, but I keep all of my favourite members as victims living in continuous sufferings, employed for the salvation of men. Just as among many I have chosen you to keep you sacrificed for love of me and for men. Ah, yes, my heart finds no respite nor rest if it does not find man. And man, how does he requite me? With most enormous ingratitudes." Having said this, he disappeared. End of the reading. The 18th of June, 1901, Volume 4. Jesus demands his glory from every particle of our beings, from the state of union to that of consummation. As I was in my usual state, I saw my sweet Jesus for a little, and I began my laments about my poor state of his privations, and about a sort of tiredness, physical and moral, as if I felt my poor nature being crushed and failing me in all its parts. Then after I said all of this to my Jesus, he told me, "My daughter, do not be concerned about your feeling faint in all parts. Don't you know that everything must be sacrificed for me, not only in the soul, but also in the body, and that from the tiniest little particles of your being, I demand my glory? And then don't you know that from the state of union, one passes on to another one, which is that of consummation? It is true that I am not coming as usual, so as to chastise the people, but I use this also for your own profit, which is not only that of keeping you united with me, but of consuming you for love of me. In fact, as I do not come, and you feel faint because of my absence, don't you come to be consumed for me? After all, you do not have great reason to afflict yourself, first because when you see me, it is always from your interior that you see me come out, and this is a sure sign that I am with you, and also because not one day has yet come in which you can say that you have not seen me perfectly." After this, his voice assuming a sweeter and more benign note, he added, "My daughter, I recommend to you very, very much that you let not even the slightest act, which is not patience, resignation, sweetness, sameness, tranquillity in everything, come out of yourself. Otherwise you would dishonour me. And it would happen as to that king who lived in a palace which was well adorned inside, but on the outside it could be seen as full of cracks, stained and about to collapse. Would people not say, "What? A king lives in this palace, and yet such an ugly configuration can be seen outside as to make one fear even to draw near it? Who knows what a king he must be? Would this not be a dishonour for that king? Now think that if anything which is not virtue comes out of you, they would say the same about me, and I, who live inside of you, would remain dishonoured." End of the reading. The 18th of June, 1923, Volume 15, Prodigies, Wonders, Excesses of Love of our Lord in instituting the Most Holy Sacrament and in communicating Himself. I was feeling all absorbed in the most holy will of God, and blessed Jesus made present to me, as though in act, all the acts of His life on earth. And since I had received Him sacramentally in my poor heart, He made me see, as though in act, in His most holy will, the moment in which my sweet Jesus, in instituting the most holy sacrament, communicated Himself. How many wonders, how many prodigies, how many excesses of love in this act of communicating Himself. My mind wandered amid so many divine prodigies, and my always lovable Jesus told me, "Beloved daughter of my supreme volition, my will contains everything. It preserves all of the divine acts as though in act, and it lets nothing escape it. And to one who lives in it, it wants to make known the goods it contains. Therefore, I want to make known to you the reason for which I wanted to receive myself when I instituted the most holy sacrament." The prodigy was great and incomprehensible to the human mind. For the creature to receive a man and God, to enclose the infinite in a finite being, and to give to this infinite being divine honours, decorum, and a dwelling worthy of him, this mystery was so abstruse and incomprehensible that the apostles themselves, while they easily believed in the incarnation and in many other mysteries, remained troubled before this one, and their intellects were reluctant to believe. And it took my repeated saying for them to surrender. So what to do? I, who instituted it, was to take care of everything, since when the creature would receive me, the divinity was not to lack honours, divine decorum, and a dwelling worthy of God. Therefore, my daughter, as I instituted the most holy sacrament, my eternal will, united to my human will, made present to me all the hosts which were to receive the sacramental consecration until the end of centuries. And I looked at them one by one. I consumed them, and I saw my sacramental life palpitating in each host, yearning to give itself to creatures. In the name of the whole human family, my humanity took on the commitment for all and gave a dwelling within itself to each host. And my divinity, which was inseparable from me, surrounded each sacramental host with divine honours, praises, and blessings to give worthy decorum to my majesty. So each sacramental host was deposited in me and contains the dwelling of my humanity and the cortege of the honours of my divinity. Otherwise, how could I descend into the creature? And it was only because of this that I tolerated sacrileges, coldness, irreverences, ingratitudes, since in receiving myself, I secured my own decorum, the honours and the dwelling which befitted my very person. Had I not received myself, I could not have descended into creatures, and they would have lacked the way, the door, the means to receive me. This is my usual way in all my works. I do them once in order to give life to all the other times in which they are repeated, uniting them to the first act as if they were one single act. So the power, the immensity, the all-seeingness of my will made me embrace all centuries. It made present to me the communicants and all sacramental hosts, and I received myself as many times, so that through myself I might pass into each creature who has ever thought of so much love of mine, that in order to descend into the hearts of creatures, I was to receive myself, so as to secure the divine rights and be able to give them not only myself, but the very acts I did in receiving myself, to dispose them and almost to give them the right to receive me. I remained surprised and as if I wanted to doubt, and Jesus added, "Why do you doubt? Is this not perhaps to operate as God? And this one single act of forming as many acts for as many as want to enjoy it, while it remains one single act, was it not the same for the act of the incarnation of my life and of my passion? I incarnated myself only once. One was my life, one my passion. Yet this incarnation, life and passion, is for all and for each one, as if it were for one alone. So they are still as though in act, and for each one, as if I were now incarnating myself and now suffering my passion. If it were not so, I would not be operating as God, but as creature, who, not containing a divine power, cannot let herself be possessed by all or give herself to all. Now, my daughter, I want to tell you of another excess of my love. One who does my will and lives in it comes to embrace the works of my humanity, because I greatly yearn that the creature become similar to me. And since my will and hers are one, my will takes pleasure in her, and amusing itself, it places all the good I contain into the creature, and I form in her the deposit of the very sacramental hosts. My will, which she contains, lends her and surrounds her with divine decorum, homages, and honours, and I entrust everything to her because I am certain to keep my works in a safe place, since my will becomes actor, spectator, and custodian of all my goods, of my works, and of my very life. End of the reading. The 18th of June 1925, Volume 17, How All Things Contain the Seed of Regeneration, how the divine will must regenerate in the human will in order to turn it into divine. I was fusing myself in the holy divine will according to my usual way, and as that immense void of the most holy supreme volition came before my mind, I thought to myself, how can it ever be that this void will be filled by the return of the human acts done in this adorable divine will? In order to do this, all the bars of the human will must be removed, which prevent the step in order to enter this eternal and celestial sphere of the supreme will, in which it seems that God is waiting for man to let him return to his origin in the order of creation and to the first steps and upon that path on which he had his beginning. Yet nothing new, which is good, can be seen in the world. Sins have remained as they were, or rather they are worse. And if one hears of some awakening of religion, of works, of Catholic actions, some of them seem to be masquerades. Others seem to have only the mark of good, but deep inside, in the substance, there are some with vices and passions, such as to be wept over more than before. And if they are looked at in God, oh, how unseemly they are for the divine, most pure eternal will. Therefore, how can it ever be that all of a sudden man would give death to all vices in order to give life to all virtues, as it is required, in order to live in this sphere of the supreme will. In fact, in order to live in it, there are no compromises or lives split between virtues and vices. Rather, it is necessary to sacrifice everything so as to convert all things into will of God. The human will and the human things must have life no longer, but must exist in order to let the will of God be fulfilled in them, so that God may carry out his life within us. Now, while I was thinking about these and other similar things, my sweet Jesus, interrupting my thought, told me, "My daughter, yet it will be so. This immense void of my will be filled with the human acts done by the creatures in my will. The divine will came out from the eternal womb of the Supreme Being for the good of man. While doing one single act in coming out from ourselves in order to overwhelm man in such a way that he would not find a way out, this will of ours then multiplied into many innumerable acts in order to surround him and say to him, 'See, this will of mine not only enwraps you, but it is in continuous attitude of doing immediate acts in order to be known and to receive your act in return in my will. All things have their return, and if they don't, they can be called useless works and without value. The seed which is sowed under the earth by the sower wants its return, and so the seed generates more seeds, 10, 20, 30 out of one. The tree which is planted by the farmer wants the return of the generation and multiplication of the fruits. The water which is drawn from the fount gives the return of quenching one's thirst, of washing and cleaning the one who drew it. The fire which is lit gives the return of the heat and the service it renders to humanity. In the same way, all the other things created by God, who has the power to generate, contain the virtue of regeneration. They multiply and give their return. Now, is only this will of ours, which came out from ourselves with so much love, with so many manifestations, and with so many continuous acts, to remain without its return of regeneration of other human wills into divine? A seed gives more seeds. A fruit generates another fruit. Man generates another man. A master forms another master. Is our will alone as powerful as it is to remain isolated, without return and without generating and multiplying itself in the human will? Ah, no, this is impossible. Our will have its return. It will have its divine generations in the human will. More so, since this was our prime act through which all things were created, that our will would transform and regenerate the human will into divine. Will is what came out from ourselves. Will is what we want. All other things were done in the secondary order, while this was done, established in the primary order of creation. At the most, it may take time, but the centuries will not end until my will does not obtain its purpose. If it has obtained the purpose of regeneration in secondary things, more so must it obtain it in the primary purpose. Our will would never have departed from our womb if it had known that it would not have obtained its complete effects. That is, that the human will would be regenerated in the divine will. Do you think that things will always be as they are today? Ah, no. My will overwhelm everything. It will cause confusion everywhere. All things will be turned upside down. Many new phenomena will occur, such as to confuse the pride of man. Wars, revolutions, mortalities of every kind will not be spared in order to floor man and to dispose him to receive the regeneration of the divine will in the human will. And everything I manifest to you about my will, as well as everything you do in it, is nothing but preparing the way, the means, the teachings, the light, the graces, so that my will may be regenerated in the human will. If this were not to occur, I would not have manifested so much to you, nor would I have kept you sacrificed in the bed for such a long time, in order to place in you the foundations of the regeneration of my will in yours, and therefore keep you in continuous exercise within my will. Do you think that my continuous being within you, feeding you my prayer and making you feel my pains, which together with me acquire another value, other effects, another power, is nothing? I could say that I am making the first statue, the first soul of the regeneration of my will in her. Then it will be easier to form copies. This is why I always say to you, be attentive, for this is about something too great and about the most important thing which exists in heaven and on earth. It is about rescuing the rights of our will, about giving back to us the purpose of creation, about returning to us all the glory for which all things were made, and about making us pour out all the graces which our will had established to give to the creatures, have they fulfilled our will in everything. End of the reading. The 18th of June, 1930, volume 28, How All Created Things Call the Creature to Do the Divine Will. God, in creating man, placed him inside his divine enclosures. My abandonment in the fiat continues. While my poor mind was following the creation in order to keep company with the acts that the divine will does in it, my sweet Jesus told me, my daughter, each created thing calls the creature to do the divine will. They are voice and they speak, but speak according to the act that the divine volition carries out in them. In fact, each created thing carries out a distinct act of divine will, and with that act, it calls the creature to do its divine will. Each created thing has received from God, for this purpose, a special delight, in order to attract the creature in a mysterious way to do his divine will. This is the reason for the order, the harmony of all creation around the creature, in such a way that the sun calls with its light, and unleashing its heat, it calls her to do the will of her creator. And my divine fiat, hidden under the veils of the light, calls with insistence, without ever withdrawing, to receive its life, so as to be able to carry it out as it does in the sun, and almost to assail her, so as to make itself listened to. It invests the creatures from all sides, to the right, to the left, over her head. It extends even under her feet, to say to her with its mute language of light, listen to me, how beautiful I am, how much good I do to the earth, because a divine will reigns and dominates my light. And you, why don't you listen to me with my touch of light, so as to receive the life of the divine will, to let it reign in you? The heavens speak to you with the meek twinkling of the stars, the wind with its empire, the sea with its murmuring and with its tumultuous waves. The air speaks to you in the breathing, in the heartbeat, the little flower with its fragrance. In sum, all created things compete among themselves in calling you to receive my will in order to let it reign, so that heaven and earth may be nothing other than an act of divine will. Oh, if creatures listened to the many voices of creation that, though mute, are yet real and always present in their midst, they would surrender by letting it reign, as it reigns with its full triumph in all things created by us. Then I continued my round in creation, and as I arrived at Eden, I followed what God did in the creation of man. And my beloved Jesus told me, my daughter, As you arrive at this point of the creation of man, we feel wounded, and we have present the moving scene of how he was created by us. Our love swells, overflows, runs to find man as he was created by us. Our love becomes delirious, and in its delirium, it wants to embrace him, clasp him to our divine womb, beautiful and holy, just as he came out of our creative hands. And not finding him, our love changes into a delirium of sorrowful love and longs for he whom it so much loves. Now you must know that our love in creating man was so great that as soon as he was created, he was placed by us within our divine enclosures, and we gave him as little atom the human will, immersed in the immensity of the divine will. Therefore it was natural for him that being a little atom, he would have to live of divine will. Our divinity said to him, "We give you our divine will at your disposal, so that the little atom of yours may feel the need to live of its immensity, to grow with its sanctity, to embellish itself with its beauty, to make use of its light. Seeing himself little, he will feel happy to live within the enclosures of our fiat, so as to live of our divine qualities." And we delighted in seeing this little atom of the human will live within our interminable enclosures, under our care, under our gaze, growing beautiful and graceful, of a rare beauty, such as to enrapture us, to let us find our delights in him. But brief was his happiness and our joys for having created man. This atom of the human will did not want to live of divine will, but of itself. It can be said that it repressed ours to live of its own. In fact, as much as he wanted to go out of our will, he could find not even a little space in which to go, because there is not one point in which it is not present. Therefore, as much as he did not want to live of our own, he had no place to go. So while he was inside our divine fiat, yet he lived as if it were not there. And voluntarily he lived of his miseries and of the darkness that he himself formed for himself. And this is the reason for our continuous longing, that he would no longer keep our will repressed, but rather he would repress the atom of his will to live happy and holy, and we may find in him our delights. End of the reading. The 18th of June, 1937, volume 34. What one obtains and what submitting oneself to the divine will means. Exchange of abandonments between the divine will and the soul. Merit that she acquires. Outpouring of love. How in every created thing there is the deposit of love for us. I was following the divine volition in its acts, and oh, how many surprises, how many consoling things. One feels such love that one feels as drowned in the divine flames. And my sweet Jesus, wanting to make me know more what one submission, one more act in the divine volition means, all goodness told me, "My daughter, if you knew how my love feels an extreme need of pouring itself out and of making itself known, what it pours in the creature when she submits herself to my will and comes to as our daughter to live in it, as she submits herself and we see her in our divine enclosures that are interminable. We feel ourselves enraptured, and we pour forth new seas of love over her, so very great that she feels herself drowned. And not being able to contain it all, she makes a gift to everyone, to all created things, to the saints, to the angels, to her Creator himself, and also to the hearts disposed on the poor earth of the sea of love that she has received. We feel ourselves given to everyone, in order to make ourselves loved by everyone. What traffic, how many loving industries. We feel ourselves repeat our surprises of love to reciprocate our divine ways. As the creature submits herself to our will in order to let it reign, she forms the place for us in her in order to let us operate as God in her tiny little field. And such and so many are the prodigies that we do, our industries of love, that the heavens lower themselves, are shaken, and amazed they contemplate what we do in the creature, where our divine fiat reigns. You must know that our creation in man is not finished because it was interrupted by the withdrawal that he made from our volition. Not reigning in him, we could not entrust ourselves to him, and therefore the continuation of our creative work remained as though suspended. So with anxiety, we await that he returns into the arms of our fiat so that he may let it reign, and then we will repeat the continuation of the creation. And oh, how many beautiful things we will do. We will give surprising gifts. Our wisdom will put forth all its divine art. And oh, how many beautiful images that resemble us will its divine light put forth, all beautiful, but distinct from one another in sanctity, in power, in beauty, in love, in gifts. Our love will not be hindered any more. Finding our volition, it will be able to do and give what it wants. Therefore, it will display so much in giving in order to recover the losses of its repressed love. And since we will be free in giving, we will give them our times. We will make ourselves known for who we are, how much we love them, and how they should love us. We will give them our love at their disposition so that we could love each other with one single love. In fact, one who will live in our volition will be our triumph, our victory, our divine army, the continuation of our creation and its completion. Do you believe that it was nothing for us, wanting to give and not being able to give? To have the power to create innumerable prodigies of grace or sanctity, and because our will does not reign in souls, we are as rejected and impeded from being able to create our most beautiful works. This is the height of our sorrow. Therefore, by never doing your will, you will be able to mitigate this sorrow for us, and by always doing ours, you will have our power, our love in your power. So you'll be able to enrapture our fiat in order to let it reign in the midst of the human generations. After this, I continued to think about the divine will, and I said to myself, is it not enough to give oneself one time to the mercy of the divine fiat? What can be the good of giving oneself always? And my always lovable Jesus added, my blessed daughter, you do not know the secrets of our love and our infinite stratagems that reach even to excess. Indeed, one needs to love in order to know how to find so many discoveries of love, so as to be able to give and receive from whom one loves. You must know that every time the creature gives herself to us, to the mercy of our volition, we give ourselves to her, as abandoning ourselves into the bosom of the creature. And if you knew what this abandoning of ourselves means, the grace, the good that we leave her, the renewal of our life that we repeat for her, your heart would burst with joy, with happiness, and with love. But this is nothing. Every time she gives herself to us, we give her the merit that she has given us her life. And if she gives herself 10, 20, 100, 1,000 times, and even more, so many times we give her the merit as if she were to have given us as many lives for however many times she has given herself, and as many times we give her our life. We renew hers in ours. We repeat for her the good, rather we increase it, for however many times she has given herself to us. And so much is our satisfaction, the pleasure that we experience when the creature gives herself to us, that we are so very liberal toward her, and that many times we give her the merit of possessing as many divine lives. And by locating hers, we give her the merit of as many lives for however many times she has given hers. This is our divine commerce we want in order to give ourselves. We give ourselves in order to receive the life of the creature in our Supreme Being. This exchange of lives maintains the conversation. We make ourselves known for who we are. We let her feel the ardent heartbeats, the love that consumes us, how we love her and how we want to be loved. And then, if she did not feel the need of continuously giving herself to us, it is a sign that she does not love us, and her heart is not in possession of our irresistible love. This is the sign of true love, to want to always give oneself almost in every instant to the one to whom one loves. But while she gives herself, the strength of love imposes itself so much that she wants to receive. And if she did not receive, she would feel suffocated and burst into cries of sorrow, as to deafen the heavens and earth. And therefore, in order to not arrive at such straits of sorrow, my love waits for the creature to give herself to me, and I immediately give myself to her with all the infinity of our will. So I continued my round in creation, and oh, how many beautiful surprises. Each created thing told me how much God loved me. Each one of them possessed the space that contained a deposit of love that had to tell me always, He loves you, your Creator loves you. I remained surprised, and my sweet Jesus, returning, resumed his saying, My daughter, you know that the creation was an outlet of our love, and as we put forth the creation to the light of day, we had everyone present, not one creature escaped from us, and we placed for each one of them in every created thing a deposit of love that must love her and always tell her, He loves you, your Creator loves you. In fact, if created things run in order to give to them the good that they possess, it is our love that makes them run. If the sky extends itself over the head of everyone, it is our deposit of love that gives it the right. If the sun gives its light to everyone, it is the inheritance of the love that each one has in the Son of her Creator. If the earth is firm under her steps, it is our deposit of love that lets the creature be taken as into the womb of Mother Earth, and assuring her step, it says to her under her soles, He loves you, He who has created you loves you. If the water quenches you, it is our cry of love that runs in the water and quenches you, washes you, gives the humour to the plants and the so many other goods that it does. If the fire does not burn you, it is our deposit of love that are the properties of the creature that cry out, Warm my daughter, do her no harm, and the same for all other things. Now, I want to tell you a consoling thing. If the creature enters into created things, recognizes this deposit of love of ours in each one of them, and lets her love resound in ours, She prepares the table for her Creator. See, in the Son alone, how many diversity of foods of love you can prepare for us. In that light, there is the sweetness of our love, and you loving us at the touch of ours, yours is sweetened, and you give us the food of love that sweetens us. In that light, there are the tastes of our love, and you, loving us, give us the joys of so many tastes of our love. In that light, there is our fecund love, the love that wounds, burns, and consumes, and you, loving us, will acquire the divine fecundity in your love, the virtue of wounding us, of burning yourself and consuming yourself for us. There is also the variety of colours that embellishes everything, and you, loving us, will acquire the virtue of the beautiful love in which you will remain clothed with an enchanting beauty, and oh, how enraptured we will feel. Daughter, if you would want to tell the multiplicity and diversity of love that we have placed in each created thing for every creature, and how she has the duty of knowing this multiple love in order to find the model to love us with, so many distinct loves as we have loved her, I would never finish. But alas, our love remains isolated, without the company of the love of the creature. And this is a sorrow for us, that our love is not recognised in each created thing, while everything has the mandate from us to love her with a distinct love. In the wind runs the puff of our kisses, the billows of our loving caresses, the moans of our suffocated love. In the impetuosity of the wind, our commanding love that wants to make itself known in order to rule over everything. And sometimes it reaches as to almost speak with deafening cries in order to have that she would hear nothing other than our love that loves her. Oh, if the creature would recognize our love that runs in the wind, she would return to us our kisses and our caresses with hers. For the rest, because we kiss her and we caress her, because we want to be kissed and caressed by her, she would moan together with our love in order to not let us suffer. She would love us with her and our commanding love, and crying out together with our love, she would deafen everyone by telling them, let us love he who loves us so much. Also in the air that everyone breathes. How much love does not run, but no, not at intervals as in the other created things, but in every instant, in every breath. If she sleeps, if she labours, if she walks, if she eats, our love always runs, but with the love distinct and new from all the other created things. In the air our love runs and gives life with an enchanting rapidity that no one can resist. It runs in the heart, in the blood, in the bones, in the nerves, in everything. And it constitutes itself a vital act of the human being. And silently it tells her, I bring you the continuous love of your Creator, and because it is continuous, I can give you life. Oh, if they would recognise us in the air that they breathe, the act of life that we've placed in it, the ardour of our love that runs, it runs without ever stopping. She would give us her life in exchange so as to love us, in order to tell us our story of love and repeat our refrain. I love you always, in everything and in each thing as you have loved me. From greatest created thing even to the littlest, there is one new and distinct love of ours for creatures. And since they do not know it, they do not reciprocate us. Rather, with highest ingratitude, they reciprocate our love with offences. And therefore we await that our will is known and dominating in the midst of the human generations. It will be the revealer of our love, and then we will recover our losses and we will love with one single love. How content we will be, and seeing ourselves loved, we will add another new and distinct love, so our love will not be repressed anymore, but will have its outlet of love and of being loved in return. Therefore pray that our kingdom come and you recognise our love. If you want love, love us. If we do not find our love in the creature, we do not know what to give to her, nor what to do with her, because the support for where to place our graces and the first element that forms our life in her is lacking. End of the reading. There are no more readings today.